Hello, everybody. My name is Montell, Neville Police Ethics Advisor, and I'm here today with...
Hi, I'm Will Hodgkinson. I am the head of the Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire and Hertfordshire Professional Standards Department.
Today, we're talking about the standards of professional behaviour. Under the standards of professional behaviour, there's a couple that we're going to deep dive into. So we're going to look at some particular cases that will outline some of this for us. Which one shall we talk about first?
So let's start with standard 1. And there are 10 standards in total, and they're not hierarchical. There's one isn't more important than the other, but standard 1 is probably widely considered, Montell, to be one of the most important on the basis that there are only very few cases where if you breach that standard, it won't result in dismissal. So standard 1 is honesty and integrity. And whenever you become the head of the Professional Standards Department, you go on a course at the College of Policing, and this standard and the cases behind it are talked to. And there's two stories which really define what honesty and integrity means through two cases which we'll talk to today, which were tested at the by way of judicial review, so tested at the High Court to explain and articulate and define what it means. So the first case is quite a tragic case, but it's a case of Sergeant Salter. So Sergeant Salter down in Dorset, it's very early, I think it's a very early Sunday morning. I think it's sort of winter, late autumn, winter time, and Sergeant Salter attends a road traffic accident. And in the road traffic accident is a colleague of his, PC Morton, I think, and there's no other cars involved. It's one car. And PC Morton, this officer knows, Sergeant Salter knows that he's been having an affair. He's been having an affair and he has two phones in the car. Now, Sergeant Salter is aware of the person he's having the affair with and also aware of the Constable Morton's long-term partner. During the investigation, Sergeant Salter tells a junior officer, exhibits officer, can't quite remember which, that he should take the second phone, the phone which would have the evidence of the affair on it, and destroy it. He should destroy the evidence, destroy property. Now, the officer who he tells to do this says, I can't do that. Our job is to collect evidence and present the case to the coroner. So that officer tells senior officers and explains what has happened. It triggers the arrest of Sergeant Salter, who has an unblemished record up until this point, obviously. He's interviewed and he gives full candor. He explains, he said, I did do that. I'm deeply sorry. I did it because I didn't want to bring any additional heartache to this officer's long-term partner, who no doubt would find out all about the affair, because within the property given back to her would be two phones. And the obvious question would be, well, why has he got two? I've never seen this phone before. What's on it? And he wanted to save the heartache. Now, this case went to a gross misconduct hearing, and the officer was dismissed. And dismissed because if you destroy evidence, there can be no faith in the individual presenting evidence in a criminal setting. Is there any other evidence, officer, that we need to be aware of in this case? No, there isn't. But aren't you known to destroy evidence? Yes, I am. So they can't be here. So he was dismissed. Now, he decided to make an application to what's called the Police Appeals Tribunal, the PAT. And the PAT overturned the case and said, no, he shouldn't be dismissed. Unblemished record, full candor, explained, put his hands up, explained what he had done. And the chief constable of that force said that can't be right. We can't have a dishonest officer. There is no such thing. And so this case went to the High Court, and the High Court agreed, and they
agreed with the chief.
Agreed with the chief,
right.
And overturned the decision that Sergeant Salter was dismissed. And they used a phrase to say that dishonesty is inimical i.e. completely incompatible with what it is to be a police officer. So Sergeant Salter, I think a lot of people have a great deal of sympathy with what he was trying to achieve, but you can't be dishonest as a police officer. So that's the first case, very famous case, the Salter case. The second one is Bolt, which is a Merseyside case. And I didn't know the details of this until recently, but it's an interesting story. So under Bernard Hogan-Howe, who viewers might remember was the Commissioner of the Met, before that he was the Chief Constable of Merseyside. And within his leadership, everyone had their own area that they needed to patrol and look after. And Bolt, Constable Bolt, I think it was Richard Bolt, yes, Richard Bolt had his patch. Now, Richard Bolt wasn't on his patch. He had taken a car with his police officer mate, and they had driven off to see an ex-officer and presumably round his house having a catch-up, not doing police work, not doing their duty. Now, on their way back from seeing their mate, they come across an individual who has been attacked. I can't remember if he was attacked or robbed or both. And this individual happened to be a local councillor. And he thought, oh, thank goodness, this has just happened to me. And lo and behold, a police car has arrived. And the officer Bolt apprehends the suspect's arrested, speak to the councillor, give the councillor some assurance that they'll be in contact, take the suspect away. And Bolt decides at this point, if I record this crime, investigate the matter, and provide an update, it's going to be clear that I've misconducted myself because I wasn't where I should be. I'm in breach of my duties and responsibilities. And so Bolt makes the very odd decision to release the suspect, not record a crime. And when the councillor turns up at the police station and asks for an update because he hasn't heard anything, they initially, I think the councillor says, initially they didn't know who I was, and they thought I was talking sort of gibberish. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't know what you're talking about, that we'd have recorded it, until he says, I'm a local councillor. Yeah. Bolt is identified as the individual, and Bolt goes to a hearing. In that hearing, Bolt is not dismissed. And the hearing was, I think, by the Chief Constable of North Wales, so quite close to Merseyside. Mm-hmm. And Bernard Hogan-Howe then said, this can't be right. I can't have an individual who has admitted a breach of honesty, integrity, still within the service. So Bernard Hogan-Howe was known for high standards. Absolutely right. And so Bernard Hogan-Howe judicially reviewed the decision-making to not dismiss Bolt at the High Court. So in essence was challenging the Chief Constable of another force, saying, no, the standards to be a police officer are really clear. You can't be dishonest. You can't have a lack of integrity. And was successful, and Bolt was dismissed. So both of those cases go to show that no matter what the mitigation, there are very, very, very few cases where a finding of honesty and dishonesty and a lack of integrity won't result in dismissal, because you will always have to reveal. And I can't remember which case, but the judge is really clear, or it might have been a John Beggs argument, that in essence the officer becomes operationally undeployable because they can't do police work, because if someone challenges their evidence, they'll always have to reveal and disclose, I have previously been found to lie. And at that point, do you have reasonable doubt? Do you have reasonable doubt in criminal? You go, absolutely do. And that's why honesty, integrity, whilst the standards aren't hierarchical, is, in my view and the view of the sort of policing community, one of the most important standards. You can't breach honesty, integrity, and really remain in policing.
And those two stories really highlighted the importance of that. And as you were talking, I was quite surprised that, especially with the Bolt case, the fact that he wasn't dismissed in the first place.
Yeah, and I was reading about it, and let me just read you what the local councils reported it saying. I think it was in the Merseyside or Liverpool Echo, and I don't think you can argue with this. It said, members of the public want decent, hard-working police officers to uphold the law and put criminals behind bars. And you go, can't argue with that.
Yeah.
But in both those cases, very senior officers have challenged to say honesty and integrity is so important that they'll challenge at the highest court in the land the judicial review to say this can't be right. And in all of those cases, they found to be correct.
That is really interesting, but I think it's really reassuring for people who are listening to this podcast with that high standard. That is, it's a national standard, so it's not just in London, not just in Merseyside, not just in our patch of Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire, Hertfordshire, but it's countrywide. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's correct. All officers have to be completely truthful and maintain the highest levels of integrity.